Hello everyone. So tonight on Tabletop Bookshelf, I wanted to try something a little bit different and do my first actual play. And I chose the Librarian's Apprentice, a solo journaling game and an infinite library for that. This is our featured title this week. This is a beautiful product from Almost Bedtime Theater, Daniel Bronson Lowe. I did a flip through or an unboxing of this previously, and so just a reminder of what this looks like when you open it up. You have your 3 bookmarks in here, 4 bookmarks, um, which double as your character sheet. Your quotes in the back. I'll be using one of those tonight, so I'll set that aside. And then inside there are the 3 brochures that give you your instructions and tables for the game, and it's all wrapped in this like immersive package that you're getting. So, but I can set that aside for now. We can dig into the game. So this game is powered by Firelights, which is another solo game from Fari RPGs, and it utilizes a deck of cards and dice to determine the failure or success, or perhaps better words would be the outcome of an action. And in essence, the way it works is every time I take an action, I'm going to draw 2 cards, and then I'm going to roll against that. And so in this example, I rolled a 4, and if I have a bonus, I might add that. But I'm going to compare that against these 2 cards, and the face cards are worth 11. And whether or not this dice roll is higher than these cards depends on if it is, I want to make sure I get it right here, is a light success, which means if it beat both, which it does not. So you can imagine beating both when there's a face card up. It's going to be very difficult. If you don't have any bonuses, you're going to have to roll a 12. There is a shadow result, which is if you beat 1. So we've got that in this case. I'm beating the 3 with the 4 here. And there is a darkness result, which is usually least favorable to your character, and that would be under both. So if I rolled if I rolled a 3, I would have been in a darkness result. So I am going to play through the game and using that, and it also uses the deck of cards to help with the mapping. I'm going to put those cards on the bottom there. And we're just going to run through it. So again, the setting here, you are the apprentice of a librarian. You have been put on a task to collect documents from this ever-shifting infinite library. So first thing I want to do is put my character sheet together, which is a bookmark, which is lovely. So first I'm going to come up with a name. Let's go with Jasper. And pronouns, we'll go with he, him. And then fatigue could accumulate as complications occur, or as we try to overcome complications. If it fills up, the day is over. Essentially, you did not complete your task in the day. Your librarian that you are apprenticing for is probably not going to be very happy with you. And then resources, those can be added throughout the game to help you out. Now skills, I have +2, +1, and +0. I think for this run through, I'm going to have +2 on research. So very good at navigating through the books and documents within the library. And because of that, I think they're going to be pretty good at lore too. They retained a lot of that, but maybe not so good at navigation because they get too deep into their books. And then for my familiar's name, I'm going to call it, I don't know why, but Dyno? Maybe Dyno popped into my head. And I looked at this earlier and I thought it would be fun to have a Glow Mite. And a Glow Mite, they describe on the bestiary here, which is on the second one. A Glow Mite is a crab-like automaton with glowing gems. So I can imagine this little Glow Mite. And I think they're going to be good at navigation because they say on here they're often tasked with cleaning the library. So I think this Glow Mite Dyno maybe came upon me deep in study and wanted me to explore some deeper places in the library with them. They also have a fatigue point, so the familiar can take a fatigue point, but then I will lose its bonus while it's fatigued. And you can remove fatigue from resting. Resting can be done typically by using 3 resources. And or using trading in cards. So that's a mechanic we'll get to later as well. So let's start it off. So there's a few more character creation pieces left. Got my name, got my bonuses, got my familiar. Now I need backgrounds. I select 1 truth from each of these sections. So I will go with, how about this one? You were born and raised in the library. What are the secrets? So I'm going to put truths up here. What secret did other library children share with you when you were young? Ooh, I'm going to say that there is there are secret doors to move fast between far rooms. Let's go with my community. I'm going to say my community is... I live with a family, royal librarians of a lost kingdom, who travel throughout the library. So that sounds good. So my family is, I was born and raised in the library. They're royal librarians. But my family never settles in one place because the parents have a wanderlust. They are always wanting to go to new places and see new things, much to Jasper's frustration. Jasper wants to just stay in the books, so there's an interesting tension there now. And then the library. The library is a sentient place. Let's see. Oh, I could choose that one. I can choose one of the 3. The library is an ecosystem. A librarian helps keep it balanced. What is your favorite season in the library? I'm gonna go with something. I think that the seasons maybe are not spring, summer, fall, for example. They could be have other qualities. So I'm gonna go with the I find candlelight season to be the most charming. And just because I like the way that the light flickers off the books. And that sounds pretty dangerous in a library, but this is a magical library, so. Alright. So I think we're set on character here. And we have to now travel through this library and find 6 documents. I think I'm probably only going to get to 3 tonight, but let's see how far we get. I have this incredible deck of Air Jamaica cards, which it's interesting. It's random that I am in their possession, and it's a very random deck of cards. But I think that fits nicely into the infinite library. And I'll use this guitar pick to determine where I'm at. So you start off with your first card here. All right, so 10 of hearts. This is the office, central office. We'll say that, you know, my father said we're about to go on another journey far into the deep ends of the infinite library. But before we do that, he's tasked me to go find 6 more documents that will help us on our journey. And reluctantly, I agreed to. I was deep in my studies and learning about engineering projects, we'll say. But I put my books down, I took Dyno with me, and we went off into the library. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to travel. So when you travel to a new location, you roll navigation. And again, I'm going to pull these 2 cards out to determine what's going to happen. So I have a 7 and a 2 here. Pretty good. Pretty good. My navigation is +1 because of my familiar. So let's see what happens. Ooh. Well, good thing I got that +1 because I almost had a darkness on my first roll. So I have shadow, which means I can add either card to the map. And I'm going to put the 7 down here. And now you're going to see it's offset a little bit here because they can stack in either direction, but they need to stay connected. Then I have to discard the other card, so I'll toss that over here. Now I'm going to travel over to this new location with Dyno, who I'll say Dyno kind of leads me on the way. And now we get to find out what's in this location. So we have the second one, which is descriptions, events, and complications, and use this to help determine what's in there. Now I'm not going to write everything about it, but I want to write down the descriptions for this. So this is the 7 of hearts. And I'm going to do bullet points here on what I roll. So this room, and most of these are, well, all of these are 2d6 rolls. So we have a 23, so this is a dilapidated. The feature is glowing crystals. And the category is 32. Marginalia. Marginalia. That's a good one, right? Okay, so there is, I would imagine it is crystals that are dilapidated would be, maybe there's some dusty crystals scattered about on this place. And marginalia which I just had to look up to be sure I had this right. Are the marks made in the margins of a book or document? So it's a collection of scribbles, and we're going to say they're in these dusty crystals. I can look inside of them, and I can see these little notes that have been scribbled into the margins of documents, probably separated from their physical form, but floating through these crystals. Well, and then it's up to you. There doesn't have to be an event or secret, and I think this is an interesting time to talk about solo RPGs and journaling games and how much you want to follow a system and keep it very strict, or whether you want to let the narrative guide at the system a little bit more. It's up to you how you want to play the game, but typically, if you stay more strictly to the rules, there's more of you're into it more for that game experience. Um, and the importance there, I think, is just to remain consistent with yourself and the rules that you've set for yourself. Uh, but I will bend a little bit here to narrative if needed. I think in this case, there aren't any events or secrets, but I am always interested in doing some research. So I'm going to research here. When I search for something useful, I'm going to roll my research against an ace, and ace is going to be a 1. Another low roll. My research 2 brought a 5, but I still get 1, which is a shadow. So I get to trade in either of these cards. Now, if I trade in a club or a spade, I get +1 resource. If I trade in a heart, I would get a fatigue, or I could store it for later, kind of like a health potion. In this case, it doesn't really matter which one I choose, so I get +1 resource. I'm going to mark that on my sheet here. And I can use that resource +1. I can use that resource before I make a roll to help with it. I'll probably save that for when I need to overcome a complication. All right. Well, that was interesting. I found a useful piece of information within one of these. Let's look at document formats here. So there are other tables. There's another. This last one has descriptions, quirks, and interests, primarily for characters. If you come across an NPC in the library, but in this case, let's see. Maybe I do find a secret here. What secret do I find? 52. Oh, all right. Well, this is actually events and secrets. So the secrets are contained in the middle here. I rolled an event. So this said that a swarm of glow mites scuttles along cleaning. That's interesting because I have glow mite, right? So these crystals are really dirty. These glow mites start coming along cleaning it. And let's say Dyno maybe gets kind of upset because they see them interrupting my cleaning. And Dyno pushes me along deeper into the library. So let's do another travel. Oh man, I keep rolling low. Okay, so that's going to be a 4 because I have +1 on my travel. So that's 1. I have to discard 1 and then I take the other. So I'm going to put the 8 down. Discard the ace. And let's see what's in this room. And that is the 8 of spades. All right. 16. elevator. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I put the feature down first. Okay, we'll say that's the feature. 1.5 chained is the descriptor. And then 25 geology. Okay. So, let's see. Geology elevator chained. Can see an elevator like a mine shaft elevator kind of going down through on this really huge chain, descending into this deep earth. And each layer there are different messages scrawled about on the walls. All right, but alas, the document I need is not here. So I'm not going to dally. I'm not going to stay around in this spot. Let's move on. Quickly travel through. Okay, my first face. The face cards. Ooh, and I got above 2 with my 4 here. And I'm going to pick this because the face means... Now again, I got shadow, so I don't get any bonuses. I don't get to trade that in. Because this counts, this is 11. But the face means that I have found one of the documents. But first, let's find out what this room looks like. $52. Narrow. And this is the Queen of Hearts. This is narrow. $64. Teeth. Oof. That's kind of a gruesome feature. And the category. Imaginary languages. Whoa. So we'll say it's this this is kind of a scary space, right? There's a narrow hallway, I imagine, where there's all these chattering teeth on the side. But if you speak to them in the imaginary language that they use, they will speak truths back to you. All right, so let's find out what this document. The information here is presented as 35. The changing colors of 24, a globe. Document. I'm going to put a little star here. So that reminder that this was a document room and these were the changing colors of a globe. So I imagine I start talking in various languages to these chattering teeth on the side, chattering mouths. And eventually one of them clicks and I see a globe appear in front of it with flickering colors. And I know how to interpret these colors as a librarian's apprentice, and I find a useful piece of information that will help our family on their journey. So great, I've got 1 document. I need to find 5 more. Dyno is happy, bouncing around. Let's travel. Oof. double 11. So I've got to get an 11 here. Otherwise, I'm going to have a complication. Another 2. Been rolling terribly. All right, so this is a dark. I get to add either card to the map. So I do get to add 1 here. We will add the queen. The other gets discarded. And I discover a complication at this new location. So this will be, you know what, I'm going to put this one over here, actually, because it's getting a little complicated here. An infinite library. All right, so first things first, this is the Queen of Diamonds. Let's figure out the descriptor. 34 is futuristic. This is a futuristic space. 43 paintings. It's interesting to have an older medium in a futuristic place. Good clashing of ideas there. And too heavy to lift. Okay. So let's roll this complication too to figure out what is in here. 23. The library shifts. Okay, so that's great. So I think what happens here, go into this room and there's these large machines, these futuristic looking machines, maybe large screens that are, but they are, instead of doing like digital screens, they're screens of paint. And these heavy machines are providing these ever-changing paintings. And then all of a sudden, while I'm in there, there's a shift and the whole room kind of turns 45 degrees and tilts. And one of those large machines kind of pins me into a corner. Maybe I'm not, hurt, but I'm trapped in there. I've got to figure out a way to get out. So this is a level 4 complication. I'm going to bring a dice in here so I remember the level of this. And I have to address this complication through a series of rolls. So, and I need to build a stack of cards equivalent to this complication. If they are of the same suit, they count as 2. So I'm going to address this complication. This is a lore roll. A 9 or a 10. A 9, and I have +1, so I actually did get a shadow. So I get to trade in either card, or no, I'm sorry, address complication. I add either card to the stack and discard the other, and I do get a fatigue point here. So, but luckily, one of them is the same suit. So that's going to count for 2. So I'm gonna discard it to the, but I'm gonna reduce this counter here. So this is now at 2. And I now have my first point of complication. So let's say I'm trying to manipulate this machine. I'm kind of like hacking it, but I'm doing it reverse through the paint, kind of manipulating it, trying to get the machine to move itself away off the wall. All right, let's try again. Let's see what we get here. Okay. Ooh, another shadow. So again, I get to add 1 here. Since it's not going to match, it's going to reduce it to 1. And my fatigue is going to go up again. But I only have to get 1 more. So let's do it one more time. Uh, 2 and a 7. This is looking good. An 8. Wonderful. So now I get a light. I get to add both cards to the complication stack. Now, that would be great. That would have been great last turn. This turn, it's not going to affect things. It goes away. So let's say I'm finally able to access this machine's inner core, and it's sort of I access like a rotor mechanism. It rolls away off the wall. Dyno is happy, and I have a new document. So let's look at that document. What does that look like? Sorry, that's going to be in the second one. It's etchings. That's interesting. In a pool of water. So I think I'm going to interpret that. Let's say that there is a cleaning machine that goes about 2, or I thought it was a cleaning machine, but when I got closer, I realized that there were these etchings into the side of it. It wasn't just cleaning up paint. That was kind of a hidden element. Underneath it, there were these etchings that provided the next piece of information that my family needed on their adventure. All right, so I'm about 30 minutes in. I'm going to look for one more document before I go home, or let's say like, call it a break for lunch. All right, let us go on our travel here. You know what? I think this is kind of an interesting place, and I'm always in the mood for some research. So I am going to do some research here. Oof, not so good. 4. That goes away. That means I hit another complication. All right. A swarm of hungry books. This is terrible. Now I've got an 8 level complication to get past. So we'll say as I spend my time in this room of the painting machines, all of a sudden the swarm of books comes in and just engulfs the space. And I try to escape out of it, but they're just running through me. So now I'm shuffling through these books trying to find an answer of how I can put them to sleep. So I'm gonna roll. Oof, 2 9s. All right, another failure. So this means I get on a complication roll on a darkness. I'm going to discard both cards, so I didn't dress them at all. I now have another fatigue. So it's getting pretty hairy, guys. At a 3 or a 4. So look at this. I'm gonna, instead of I'm gonna play the fiction, and I'm gonna look for a secret door, because I said that, you know, one of my secrets was I know a secret door that can get me out of these complications, or maybe teleport me to a faraway spot. So let's do that. And I'm going to do. I can ask a question here. So I'm going to ask that question. Is there a secret door in this location? The 12. The answer is yes. There is a secret door. So I'm going to dive. So I get my bearings in this. And I remember a long time ago with one of my friends, we had a memory of this place. And so I dive to that location where I think that door is hidden in a corner. and I go through it, and it brings me back to the room with the glowing crystals, we'll say. Or why don't we pick a new space? That'll be more interesting. I'm going to roll it as a navigation roll. I got light this time. So this time I actually get to trade in one of these and go in one of these locations. So I am going to use this ace. I'm going to put it far away because, like I said, I have a secret door. I'm going to trade this in to get 1 fatigue back, which is great. So I'm only at 2 fatigue. What's in this location? This is the ace of spades. This is a hive. With pits. That makes sense. 26. We already did imaginary languages. Let's go to 62. Things that are lucky. Oh, interesting. So let's say that there's this hive of bee-like creatures, and they are moving around these pits. And inside these pits I can see, instead of pollen, they have various lucky charms attached to their feet. Maybe a horseshoe here, or a rabbit's paw, a lucky piece of poem string. But I'm really looking for that document, so I'm going to travel. So I think it still might be a while. Okay, a 7 is going to be 2. I'm going to take the 5, and I'm going to get another resource point. I'm saving my resources because I'm afraid I'm going to need one to rest. So I'm stocking them up. So I'm at +2 on my resources. Let's see here now. Okay, I've got to get an 8. Ooh. I'm going to spend one of my resources on this roll. 5. So that's going to be 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. That's not going to be enough. So unfortunately, that means I still do get to pick one. So I'm going to get to go to this location. But since I did get darkness, I'm going to have one more complication. Let's see what complication that is. One and a 3. The library shifts, we already did that, so let's flip it around to 31. There is difficult terrain. Okay. And this is the King of Hearts. Now this has got to be connecting to this. So let's get this one. I did put the 5 there. Let's go like that. Remember, there's secret doors here. All right, so what's in the King of Hearts location? What does that look like? We know the complication is the terrain shifts. We already did chained. Modern. Okay. Feature is a gift shop. And it's full of cookbooks. So I imagine like a gift shop at the end of a modern art museum. It's full of very sleek looking coffee table books. But on closer inspection, you can see that all of the books are cookbooks. But the complication is the terrain shift. There's difficult terrain here. So we'll say that there's kind of there's a crazy piece of modern art here, which are these sharp pointy sculptures that are strewn throughout this gift shop inexplicably. So I'm navigating around these, and they move in front of me, and they won't get out of my way along a lot of time unless I give them a fact about the artist. So let's try to overcome this complication. All right. Ooh, 4. So I gotta discard both. I got another fatigue. So I'm not coming up with any of the facts I need. All right. Oh, again I fail. So this one's gonna affect Dyno. Dyno is getting frustrated. And at this point, if I get one more fatigue, I'm gonna have to call it quits for the day. Let's see what happens. Oof, this is not great for me. I'm going to use the last of my resources. So I have 1 resource left. I've got to get a 10 or higher to get out of this situation. A 7 is not going to be enough. So I spend the rest of the day trying to get past these difficult sentient sculptures. Unfortunately, not able to come up with it, and eventually I just sit down for a rest, and I go home with only 2 of the documents to my royal librarian family. My father is, well, we'll say he's a good man. He says, "It's okay, Jasper. There's always another opportunity to travel deeper into the infinite library." And so I will end it there, with one tired Jasper and forlorn Dyno waiting for the next day to go on another trip uh, as the librarian's apprentice. So I hope this gave you a flavor for what the game can be. I think it also gave you a little bit of an idea of how to play these solo RPGs, how you can work with the rules, within the rules, and use the narrative to drive things forward for you. And again, like, you don't have to journal everything out, but I think keeping a little bit of notes about what happened in each place can help you to remember that story later, which I think is, a big benefit of this, is having that story that you can come back to, and maybe use that in the future for some of your writing. I certainly have a lot of interesting ideas that came out of this. I love the idea of those crystals with these little marginalia notes floating through it, or the narrow hallway of chattering teeth with made-up languages, those futuristic machines that were throwing paint, and the the modern gift shop with its frustrating sculptures that I could not get past. So again, thank you to Almost Bedtime Theater, to Dan for letting me carry this at Tabletop Bookshelf. So again, what is Tabletop Bookshelf? We are an independent online bookstore. We love to support crowdfunded projects and independent creators such as Dan and Almost Bedtime Theater, because we like to see these sort of interesting artifacts come out of the space that I think enrich the community and enrich what we can play. And now I have a new bookmark with this great Neil Gaiman quote on the back. So thanks again. Thanks to everyone who watched today, and I'll be doing these more in the future. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and happy gaming.